If you've ever made the perfect morning routine and felt amazing for 3 days, only to wake up one morning, feel completely different, and watch the whole thing fall apart, you're not alone. I want to just name that this pattern can often lead to ADHD women feeling guilt, even blaming and shaming ourselves, saying things like, why can't I just be consistent? What's wrong with me? And maybe even spiraling in that. Today, I'm going to share an ADHD friendly fix so that you can be consistent with your morning routine and have it be one that actually supports you and your ADHD brain. Welcome to the Self-Loved ADHD Woman's Way podcast. I'm your host, Jen Barnes. If you're an ADHD woman entrepreneur, ADHD adjacent, or ADHD-ish, you've come to the right place. We'll dive deep into the unique challenges you face, from the inner turmoil to the outer obstacles. We'll blend neuroscience, IFS, and somatic healing, and explore practical strategies to help you navigate the world of entrepreneurship with ADHD with greater ease and effectiveness. I'm glad you're here. Hey, it's Jen. I'm so glad you're here. Mornings set the tone for everything. Our focus, motivation, even how regulated our nervous system feels for the rest of the day. And most ADHD women I know, it's not that we don't know what to put in a morning routine or what would help us. We just can't seem to do it consistently or sometimes at all. And that's exactly what we're going to untangle today. So, I want to talk first a little bit about some of the hangups we experience when it comes to routines, because a lot of times I'll talk with clients, coaching clients, therapy clients about doing a morning routine because people will say, like, how do I get myself to focus better? How do I increase my motivation? And to be honest, when we have these consistent daily practices, I suppose it doesn't have to always be in the morning, things like regular exercise, eating nutrient dense foods with protein at every meal, getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night, and sleeping relatively well more often than not. I'm missing one. Mindfulness practices to help improve our concentration, if done in a trauma sensitive way, of course. But those things tend to create a baseline level of improvement in ADHD. I'm not saying any of those things are going to cure it. And I'm not saying that everything will be fine. If you could just exercise, you wouldn't have your ADHD. I want to be clear, that's not what I'm saying at all. I in no way want you to think that if you're struggling to get these things in, if you're struggling to do a morning routine, that means like, oh, it's because you're not trying hard enough. It's your own fault, because that is not at all true. It's just that what I've learned, and before I knew I had ADHD, what I just kind of noticed was like, well, I guess for whatever reason, I just have a brain that needs to have regular exercise, that needs to have nutrient dense food with protein at every meal, that needs to be well hydrated, that needs to do grounding practices. For me is breath work and meditation with some yoga. I just figured like that's just how my brain is. And what I now know is that a lot of that is because those practices help ADHD. And I have ADHD. So it's like, oh, okay. So as we talk about this, I just want to lay it out there that this is not me saying, well, if you did this, you wouldn't struggle so much, because I don't want that to be this at all. But what I do hear a lot is ADHD women want to be able to do these things because they know they help when they do them, but it is a tough struggle getting there. And part of the reason it's a tough struggle is that the way we've been taught routines has been the way that neurotypical people do routines. And for us, that really doesn't take into account the fact that our energy and our mood fluctuates from day to day. I don't know, maybe even from hour to hour. Not maybe about it. Um, but also that we can feel caged in if our routine is too structured or rigid. So we're going to talk about that. But first, I want to talk about a couple more struggles. So our brains crave novelty and creativity because Our brains need to be interested in something for us to be able to step into it easily. And a routine that gets too routine or monotonous is not something many of us can stick with. So I want to have you give yourself some grace around that. Also, for a lot of us, our none of our mornings looks exactly the same. I don't have kids and my mornings don't look exactly the same. And if I had kids, I can only imagine the layer of, I don't want to say chaos, because I know you can have a household that doesn't have a ton of chaos, but I also know that there's a lot of unpredictability when you add kids into the mix. But even my life, I have inconsistency in how my days are because I have two separate businesses, and 3 days a week I work on one business, and 3 days a week I work on the other business. And someday I'll be only working 4 days a week total. But for now, that's what it is while I'm still building my ADHD business and my YouTube channel. But what that means is those days look very different. And so I need to be able to be flexible with that. And probably so do you. The other thing I notice that happens with a lot of ADHD women is they will have really good intentions for a routine and then forget and then never go back to it again, or feel so much shame that they don't go back to it, or they just can't get themselves to do it one day. So then they scrap the whole week and they're like, ah, F it, I'm done. And I totally get that. There's no shame in that. And that isn't because you're defective or suck or anything. It's just that probably the way you're going about the routine business isn't working for you. And it could be because you're not doing it in an ADHD friendly way, which we're going to talk about. So before we get into that, though, I want to just name it is really important throughout this process and really with everything we do that we work on having compassion for ourselves, giving ourselves some grace, because we live in a society that isn't designed for our brains. Like, neurotypical society is not how our brains work, and it's just how it is. We can't control that. We can create things in our environment to be as ADHD friendly as possible, but the reality is we can't immediately change the entire world. I don't wanna say we can't change the world because, come on, enough of us. But, we can't immediately impact how the world is. But what we can do is set our lives up in a way that work for us without shame or judgment and criticism when that way that we did it isn't working right now, and maybe we need to pivot. Because the reality is our brains oftentimes need to find something interesting to be able to do it. And that means lots of pivots or adding things, a layer of creativity, a layer of challenge so that we stay interested and wanting to continue doing the thing. So, as we're approaching this, before we get into the steps, I just want to say compassion and grace are essential. So, now the question is, how do we do a routine that works for us? Well, number one, we need to consider what we even need. And most of us are going to need some layer of flexibility in our routine as well as choice so that we don't end up in a persistent demand avoidance, or some people call it pathological demand avoidance kind of situation. So we need a layer of flexibility. That means things aren't always going to look exactly the same from day to day. And like I said, some of that is because our energy and our mood can change from day to day. Some of it is just because our days can be different. But some of it is so that we don't feel caged in and forced to do something. And then that can trigger PDA in us where we're like, "Nope, not doing it now." Kind of a situation. From the way I said that, you can tell that I've had those kind of moments. So, there's a reason I'm my own boss. Okay, so there's actually 4 steps that we're gonna go over to creating a morning routine, and actually, I prefer morning self-love ritual because I find the word routine restrictive. Because routine means the same thing over and over, and that's part of our problem. So I call it a morning self-love ritual. If that's too, I don't know, bougie or whatever, you can call it your morning ritual. Whatever works for you. If the word ritual is hard, you can come up with your own language for it, but I'm gonna call it a ritual. So your morning ritual, your morning self-love ritual, the first step that we do in creating that is to notice what your energy is. Like when you get up in the morning, notice, are you feeling a high level of energy, a moderate level energy, or low? Because that needs to determine what level of your self-love ritual that you're going to do. Because if you're having a low energy day and you come in bang and you're like, yeah, we're going to do all these things, either you're going to push yourself so hard to get through it, you're going to be beat tired after and burn out, or you're not going to do any of it. So instead, step one is to notice your energy because step two is to honor your energy level with a routine that matches it. So the three routines that we're going to talk about is the better than nothing routine or ritual. See, I'm breaking my own rule. The better than nothing self love ritual, the core self love ritual, if you will, and then the expanded self love ritual. So the better than nothing ritual is exactly what it sounds like. It's better to do something than nothing. And so there's a couple different ways to do this. One is you can just have everything you do be bare minimum. So that could look like having a drink of water, making sure you go to the bathroom when you wake up, brushing your teeth, and maybe trying to get some food in your body. So that's going to be just a bare minimum kind of day. Another thing you can do is if you have some pretty strong morning rituals already, you can just do less of them. So for me already, I am getting up in the morning, I do my gratitude journal, I go into the kitchen and do my lemon water, feed the cats, make the coffee, pack my lunch if it's an office day, and then I go and do some breath work, some meditation. Sometimes I'll do some spiritual reading in there, which for me is usually a yoga text. And then I'll brush my teeth and go exercise and do a little bit of yoga. Then I finish getting ready for the day, whatever that is. So on a better than nothing day, sometimes that can look like I'll still do my gratitude journal. Maybe I won't do all 10 entries, but I'll still get that done. And I'll still do my lemon water and feed the cats and make my coffee. Oh, I forgot. Usually I make my my Ayurvedic digestive tea. But on low energy days, I don't even bother with that. It's just like one more thing and it's not required. I don't absolutely need it to function. So I let it go. I might still meditate, but I'm probably not gonna do any spiritual reading, and it's probably gonna be a max of 4 minutes, maybe 5 if we're lucky, if it even happens. And as far as my morning pages, my, brain dump writing that I tend to do in the morning, that's not gonna happen on a better than nothing day. If it does, it's me writing the date and saying, "Not today." So that's a better than nothing day if you already have some established routine. So you take what you have and you just shrink everything down to the bare minimum just to keep pin the hole in your schedule or your morning so that it's still there and that you can come back to it when you have more energy. So the core, like your core ritual, is going to be what you do more often than not. These are the things that are important to you that you know give you the biggest bang for your ADHD buck. For me, that's exercise as well as meditation and having nutrient dense food, which I forgot to add. I still eat breakfast with protein in it. It's just I might have like a breakfast bar instead of my oatmeal with pecans and blueberries. So right? It's just a quicker breakfast situation. That core routine, that core ritual is going to have more of the things that you know are going to help you. Now, here's the deal. If you have no morning ritual right now, if you just roll out of bed and get yourself to work, then that's going to look different for you than if you're someone who's been doing this a while. So, if you've been doing this a while, you already kind of probably know what your core ritual is every morning. If you're new at it, one option might be to take some sticky notes and on 4 sticky notes, write 4 different things. So they could be hydrate, eat, something with protein for sure, because low blood sugar makes it harder for us to focus. That's why protein at every meal is important for ADHD. You could have move your body and brush teeth or something like that. Or if you wanna go over and above brush teeth, you could have, move your body and some kind of breath, like breathing technique, even if it's just 10 breaths, because even just 10 mindful breaths can impact your nervous system for the day in a positive way. So you might have those 4 things on separate sticky notes, like each one might have a sticky note, and on your better than nothing days, you pick 1 or 2, probably 1. On your core days, you do like 2 or 3, and then on your high energy days, you do 4, or maybe even have a couple bonus sticky notes for those high energy, expansive routine days. So that's one way to do it, especially if you're just getting started with a morning self-love ritual. If you already have what you do, then figure out what can you reasonably do more days than not. And that'll be your core ritual that you will do when you have moderate levels of energy. For those high energy days, this is when you're going to have more of an expansive routine. So for me, this looks like doing a longer yoga practice, maybe a few extra exercises if I'm doing my weightlifting routine. It might be reading instead of just a couple sentences of my spiritual text, maybe reading a couple paragraphs, even a couple pages. Instead of doing maybe just a page of brain dump writing or my morning pages, I'll do all 3 of them. So you get the idea. You can expand the rituals that you have in the morning, each item in your ritual, so that you get the biggest bang for your buck on those high energy days. I will tell you, on my low energy days, I still exercise because I notice that exercise will give me the biggest energy bang of all the other things. So yesterday, I had a low energy day because I stayed up late the night before reading the rest of How the South Won the Civil War, and the subtitle something like Oligarchy, something, something, whatever. It's by Heather Cox Richardson, and it's brilliant. It really explains why we're in the situation we are right now in the US. But anyway, it was interesting, and so I stayed up late reading it. So I didn't have a lot of time in the morning because I needed to get my 8 hours of sleep to make sure that I could function optimally. So that meant all I had time to do was make my lemon water, make my coffee, feed the cats, and exercise. I mean, I brushed my teeth. So that's what I did. So your low energy day, your high energy day are going to look different from mine, but they're also going to look different from each other. So play with it. Think about how you want to do this. And then the next step is if you're like, okay, how am I going to remember to do this? If you've been doing this a while, your environment starts to remind you. Like my brain knows that the first thing we do is go to the bathroom. And while we're there, because, we're sitting, sorry, I'll do my gratitude journal because, captive audience. So I'll do my gratitude journal there. And then I go to the kitchen. And because I'm in the kitchen, my brain and body know that that's when I do my lemon water, feed the cats, do all that stuff I mentioned. Then I go back into if it's a high energy day, I'll sit down on the couch and I'll do my morning writing, or a moderate energy day. If it's not a super high energy day, then I'll mostly go to my room, sit on my meditation cushion and do some level of meditation, breath work, whatever. Then I go back in the bathroom, and then that reminds me to brush my teeth, right? So everything, as you change environments, your brain starts to know because these environmental cues help you. You can also put physical objects there to help you create these environmental cues. So an example of this is on office days, the night before, I'll put my lunchbox on the counter so that I remember to pack my lunch for work the next day, because I might not if I didn't do that. So, or I will if I'm having a higher energy morning when I get up, I will take my morning pages journal and move it to the ottoman, place where I put my feet, ottoman in front of my couch. So that will remind me when I walk by it, when I would go to my bedroom to go meditate, I'll be like, oh yeah, I can write right now. So just creating some of those visual cues can help you remember what comes next or what you want to do. Another option is to have sticky notes for different things. And we kind of already talked about that, but you could do it for the whole routine, even if, and pick and choose what you want to do, make it variable and fun. You don't have to do things in the same order like I do. That might feel too caged in for you, too routine. So really make this your own. It could be anything. You could do all kinds of like a whiteboard or magnets on your fridge, whatever you want, as a way to give yourself those reminders that this is what we're going to do. So you don't need to be some kind of morning machine so you can get this routine in. Because here's the deal, remember, we're doing a morning self love ritual for the purpose of supporting you and your ADHD. So, exhausting yourself before you even start your day trying to do this is the opposite of the point. So, focus on having grace and compassion for yourself and doing what works. Being flexible, letting yourself try different things out, moving things around as a way to get yourself to do it, to make it appealing to want to do it. And make peace with the fact that on low energy days, you're going to have less of a morning self love ritual, which is okay because on those low energy days, you're probably not going to get as much done during the day anyway. And that's something we talk about other times, but we just have some of those days with our brains where we're just not going to be as productive. And then that's okay. We make peace with that. But then we have other days where we're way more productive than the average person. So if we can start to make peace with that and have compassion and grace for ourselves, then that can show up not just in how we approach our work during the day, but also how we set ourselves up for success in the morning. All right, y'all. Thanks for being here. If you found this useful, I'd love it if you'd hit a like or subscribe or follow, whatever you do. And if you know an ADHD woman who would benefit from this, I would love it if you would share it with her. All right. I look forward to catching you next time. Take care.